Good evening. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the Lexington County School District 3 Board of Trustees regular monthly meeting. It is Tuesday, September the 9th, 2025, 6 o'clock. We are meeting in the Staff Development Room of the Lexington 3 District Office. All board members are present. I welcome you all and thank you for attending. At this time, I call our meeting to order. I would like to recognize two students who attend Batesburg-Leesville Elementary School. Owen Kaufman will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by Ari Gartman, who will lead us in prayer. Please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Father God, thank you for letting us meet this evening. Thank you for watching over the students, staff, and administrators of Batesburg-Leesville. Please continue to give our board members the strength to make sound decisions for our students and our district. In the name of Jesus, I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
We appreciate your participation in our meeting. Thank you so much. Great job. At this point, we are on item 1.4, approval of agenda. You received the agenda in your packet. Without objection, we will approve the agenda as presented. The agenda is approved. Item 1.5, approval of minutes for August the 12th, 2025, regular board meeting. These minutes were also in your package. Without objection, we will approve the minutes as presented. The minutes for August the 12th, 2025, regular board meeting are approved. We will move on to item 2.0, consent. The first item there is the financial report by Mrs. Roden.
Good evening. You got your statements for the month of August in your packet. On the cash analysis, an item noteworthy is the COPS grant revenue. That's that security grant we received. That's almost depleting that grant. I think we have about $8,000 left to claim, and we were able to do quite a few safety improvements throughout the district. And on the capital projects fund, that drawdown there was for the land purchase we did. We can reimburse ourselves out of our bond money, and we will be closing on our bonds September 18th. And our chair and secretary have papers to sign for that we'll be returning to the attorneys. Do you have any questions on this August financials, revenue, or expenditure statements? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Roden. Next, item 2.2, Superintendent's Report by Dr. Atkinson.
Thank you. I've got several items of past and present that I want to bring to your attention. A week from today, we'll be celebrating all of our Teachers of the Year from each of our schools on September the 16th, and also picking a new District Teacher of the Year, and that will be at 6 p.m. in the lobby of the new gym. We are excited that we can honor and celebrate all of our wonderful Teachers of the Year, and they will all receive a lot of gifts and prizes that are generously donated by members of our community and our local business, and we're always appreciative of how they support our schools and our Teacher of the Year banquet. And then at the end of that, we will announce our 25-26 District Teacher of the Year that will actually serve for the following year on the State Teacher of the Year level. You know, we had pretty good success last year, so the bar is high now, but we've got some wonderful candidates. Whoever is selected as the District Teacher of the Year will compete in the 2027 South Carolina Teacher of the Year competition, will be a member of the State Teacher Forum, and also receive a $1,000 stipend courtesy of the South Carolina legislature. And again, just to remind you all, at the primary school, we'll be honoring Carl Lawhorn. At the elementary school, Nicole Jaworski. At the middle school, Tristan Hall. And at the high school, Caitlin Jones. So we're looking forward to spending the evening with them, and hope every one of you all can attend. This coming Thursday, we have a special event occurring at the high school, but this event is for our elementary school students. And this is what we're referring to as a Patriot Day. And the State Department of Education reached out to us and wanted to know if we would collaborate with them to host Patriot Day and also include State Teacher of the Year Corey Beatbo in this celebration. And so that'll be this Thursday at 8:30 in the gym. We'll be busing the students over. We have lots of guests and honorees that will be here, starting with South Carolina Superintendent of Education, Ellen Weaver, our Teacher of the Year, Corey Beatenbow. We have several local first responders who will be participating, and of course our students and staff of the elementary school. We have had several visits from the State Department that have actually come and look at the venue, and they are just blown away by the gym and the amenities and the things that are in there. So they said, they couldn't believe that it's such a secret, that they really are happy to be there, and hoping that maybe we can collaborate some more in the future to be able to showcase our facility. Some other events from this past month, the middle school inducted 36 new members into the Junior Beta Club, and that brings that total up to 115 active students in the National Junior Beta Club, which is about 25% of the entire student body of the middle school, which is pretty impressive in itself. Tess Firm, Miss South Carolina team, visited our primary school on August the 20th, and she talked to our students about the importance of being aware of food allergies and also the power of kindness. Since that time, she has been named Miss America Teen. That was on September 6th, so our students are excited to be able to get to see this young lady. Lily Potts, a sixth grader at the middle school, won first place in the South Carolina Invest Right competition, and this was back in the fall. But she was honored over the summer. She was recognized at the South Carolina Council on Economic Education banquet, so we're proud of her. And State Teacher of the Year Corey Beatenbow has made a special visit this past couple weeks to the primary school, and again, he is visiting around the state and representing our district well at various districts and schools and events. The SCETV Pink Bus visited the high school on August the 26th. We had a hard time finding the pink bus because it looks red, but anyway, the pink bus is an interactive mobile lab that allows students to explore exciting career pathways in cybersecurity, but it is red. Well, we're in the school book fair season, and so the primary school finished up their book fair yesterday. The elementary school students started their book fair yesterday, and the middle school will be starting their book fair on Monday. So this is always a good event for our students to be able to celebrate reading and get involved. And it's already time to be talking about fall break, which will be September 22nd through the 26th, and that's fastly approaching. And last but not least, our high school chorus will be participating in the 9/11 Day of Remembrance ceremony on September 11th at the Columbia Metropolitan Convention Center, and that begins at 8 a.m., early start. So a lot of great things to celebrate and talk about this month. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Atkinson. Next, 3.0, public participation. Do we have any cards? Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda is 4.0, information items. Item 4.1, school board member continuing education debriefing the 2025 SCSBA School Law Conference by the Board of Trustees. Okay, thank you.
One of the breakout sessions that I went to was very interesting. It was about AI in the classroom. And many of you probably are already using AI. I know a lot of our students are already using AI. So it was talking about the importance of kind of getting the reins on which AI you are allowing them to use, because they will be using something regardless. They mentioned that the University of South Carolina has bought premium ChatGPT for all of their students and professors to try to harness in what is allowed and what's not allowed as much as you possibly can. It talked about, of course, it does have lots of benefits for tracking attendance, sending emails, kind of things that take up that free up staff to do more teaching and less of the stuff. But of course, there are also risks involved, misinformation, errors, dishonesty. It was a law firm that was telling us about this, and they said one of their colleagues, not their colleagues, but someone that they came across, was preparing a case and had AI help compile some things. And apparently AI has, or ChatGPT has hallucinations where if it doesn't know, it comes up with stuff. And so it put together things, but it cited references from case law that were wrong, or didn't exist, or from the wrong case law, and so obviously that person got in a lot of trouble. But so again, it is helpful, but it does have things to monitor and be aware of. And then, of course, as we've seen just through technology in our kids, the over-reliance and just the loss of imagination and critical thinking, generationally, it's going to be a huge problem. But it does lead to some of that too. But I thought it was really interesting, and they went on and on with lots of surveys and numbers that Jeff Potts would probably like, but nobody else would. So, but it is here. We're all aware of it, so we need to figure out how we're going to handle it.
Thank you.
And then speaking of change, I enjoyed the one from the Executive Director for the National School Attorneys Association, which gave us update on Supreme Court cases. And in the past, we've dealt with cases with, freedom of speech, kids wearing T-shirts or offensive language. Well, now we have moved on, because now in the past few years, we've had districts that have been sued because they refuse to let students opt out of questionable materials or lessons that interfered with their religious beliefs. So there have been several rulings and appeals with that the courts finally decided you could not limit what the district can use, but your state law is going to dictate when notices for opt-outs are required. Cases did broaden circumstances. They said to be aware for some more, that they will probably be coming up in the future. Then there was the case with the Catholic diocese who formed a private organization to do a virtual charter school that they were licensed by the Oklahoma Charter School Board. Well, then they had issues with that, saying that you're back into religion and public education. And the Supreme Court in that ruling had a tie, which doesn't mean anything, which here again, it's going to open up for more challenges coming in the future. There was a case with a kid that had severe epilepsy. She went to another district. She had seizures in the morning. The new district offered her classes starting at 11 or noon, but they did not offer her all-day classes like the former district did. So the parents sued, saying that she was not getting the same amount of education that the regular students were. So they went through that process and said that they needed to provide her for the same amount of hours as everything else. And then the next thing kind of went into all these executive orders that's coming from the president that kind of seems to interfere with previous laws or standards or guidelines. So their take was, this is going to be interesting the next few years to see where the Supreme Court justices come in, where they rule, and how they handle those executive orders. So just interesting to see how things have changed over the years that you have issues with as far as national and federal cases.
Thank you all for sharing. Item 4.2, Assessment and Accountability Update, presented by Mr. Potts.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. Tonight I plan to share with you the results of our 2025 state assessments, including SE Ready performance and end-of-course performances. Tonight I'm going to give you some context for how our student performances changed from 2024 and how we stack up against the state. First, I'm going to start with SE Ready and ELA, just sharing with you a chart that shows the side-by-side performance of students within the grade level for 24 and 25. This is the percent of students that are scoring meets or exceeds expectations. And so what you will likely see is that we're having increases at every grade level across the district in ELA in terms of the percent of students that are scoring meets or exceeds expectations. with the highest overall gains noticed in third grade, where we have almost a 20% increase in the percent of students meeting that state standard. Additionally, I want to share with you how our performance shapes up against that of the state. Although we saw gains at all of our grade levels, we do see that the percent of students meeting or exceeding expectations is still behind that of the state average. But the encouraging news is we are making gains across all of our grades. The smallest difference between that of the state occurs in 8th grade. And it just helps to show that the progress that we are making with students across the grade levels is helping get them to at least that of the state level. I did share how the performance of students, what percentage of students were scoring meets or exceeds at each grade level, but I want to share with you a chart that shows all the performance levels across the grade levels, from not met, approaches, meets, and exceeds, and that we're not just improving the percent of students that are at the highest levels of performance, we're also drastically reducing the percent of students that are scoring at the lowest level. You can just look at third grade performance, where we had 46.4% of students were scoring at not met a year ago, and that has been reduced down to 23.8%. So we're not going to get students all the way to meet and exceeds right away, and so we have to start making gains, and this is shows that we're making some of the proper trajectory towards those goals. Also want to discuss what this information looked like for math. We see gains at many of our grade levels, most noticeably in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. Although the growth that we're seeing within those grade levels isn't as high as what we saw with ELA, these are gains nonetheless. The smallest gains that we saw were really in 6th grade and 8th grade. I highlight that because 8th grade is the place where we're actually the closest to the state average in terms of the percent of students that are meeting or exceeding expectations. We do have some gaps that exist still across our grade levels when we look at the percent of students meeting that standard compared to the state. Also, once again, I want to share that it isn't just about improving students and getting them to meets and exceeds. We see across all of our grade levels, even grade levels that we didn't show any real change in performance in terms of the percent of students that were scoring meets or exceeds. 8th grade, for example, we still see a large percentage of students that are, or a significantly less percentage of students that are in that does not meet category, and we see that across many of our grade levels in math. Just to give you some context of where our growth is at in the district compared to that in some of the surrounding districts and across the state, I'd show you this is the change in the percent of students scoring meets or exceeds expectations from one year to the next. So that 10.7% that we have in Lexington 3, that is a 10.7 point increase across all of our grade levels on average in students that are scoring meets or exceeds, and that is well above everybody else that we have and well above the values that we have for the state. And that's for ELA. The blue is the math, and although it isn't nearly as high as what we're seeing for ELA, we still have one of the highest points of growth that we have here, and once again, outperforming the state. This is an average across all grade levels, so this is really good performance when we're having this level of increase across all the students across all of our grade levels. I want to give you some information about end-of-course scores. End-of-course scores, they remain modest, I'd say, overall. Our highest performing exam is English 2, where 80.7% of our students are passing the exam. We had scores increase slightly in U.S. history from one year to the next, and we saw some small decreases in Algebra 1, English 2, and biology. Compared to the state, our end-of-course scores are behind, with the closest performance being English 2, where, again, 80.7% of our students met or passed the exam, compared to 86.4% at the state level. Overall, I'd say our district has made some pretty meaningful gains across multiple grade levels and subjects, particularly in ELA and math. While some areas still lag behind, I think the progress that we've seen provides some momentum that will hopefully carry us through the years ahead. Do you have any questions for me regarding this presentation?
So just in general, and you probably don't have this in front of you, but for the last 2 or 3 years, are we catching the state? Are we staying about the same, or?
In 24, our scores, I think, especially in, I can't see, but I feel like our scores dropped a little bit in 24 from where they're at, and I think our scores are up from 23. So, little dip and back up. Yeah.
Any other questions? I do have one question to ask, and I know we may not know quite yet, but in terms of the elementary school, how do you think we're going to be with our continuous improvement, the turnaround plan? Or when will we know?
With the state, it's hard to tell. But I mean, the improvement in scores, I think, are going to help dramatically. Many of those were specific to individual subgroups and subgroup performances. So, and also that depends on how those subgroup performances compare to that subgroup throughout the state and kind of where we rank. I think it's bottom, was it 5%, Dr. Atkinson, or if I can't remember the exact formula, but and the state still has to shake out some numbers, so it's hard to tell at this point. But I mean, just looking at the amount of growth, I can, without to spill the beans about the report card rating itself, it's going to improve.
Okay.
So,
Sounds good.
thank you.
Well, thank you so much for the report, Mr. Potts. The next item of business is 5.0, action items. First, item 5.1, approval for BLMS Junior Beta Club students to attend the South Carolina Junior Beta Club Convention at the Myrtle Beach Convention Center in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, on January the 21st through the 23rd, presented by Ms. Lindsay.
Good evening. I'm Miss Lindsay. I teach science at Batesburg-Leesville Middle School, and I'm also a Beta Club co-sponsor. And I'm here tonight to present our request to take a group of 40 students to the South Carolina Junior Beta Club Convention. This would be, should you approve it, my 4th year attending our state convention. Unfortunately, last year our convention was canceled due to weather. So we are hopeful to be able to take a large group of students with us this year. We want to take 40, as I said. Students that attend the Beta Club Convention have an opportunity to participate in academic and artistic competitions, and those opportunities foster for them leadership skills and allow them to represent our school district at the state level and earn the opportunity to represent our state at the national level. This year, the national conference is in Nashville, Tennessee, and it is in June, and we will be back requesting your permission to attend that should we have students that, when we have students, not should, when we have students that qualify to attend. This year's State Beta Club Convention is in Myrtle Beach. It is Wednesday, January 21st through Friday, January 23rd. We would leave school around 12:30 or 1 and return to school by 5 o'clock on that Friday. I will tell you that we have begun our process to secure transportation and lodging, and as you can imagine, those expenses have dramatically increased this year. Just the cost of bus transportation has increased by more than $1,000. So we are anticipating that the cost for each member to attend will be about $300. We have several fundraising opportunities for our students to try to offset those costs. Our goal is to keep that cost as low as possible so that as many students as can afford can attend. That's all I have. Do you have any questions?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we give approval for the BL Middle School Junior Beta Club students to attend the South Carolina Junior Beta Club Convention at the Myrtle Beach Convention Center in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina on January the 21st through the 23rd, 2026, as presented by the administration.
Okay. Do I have a second? I have a motion from Mrs. Burgess and a second from Dr. Gunner to approve the BLMS Junior Beta Club students to attend the South Carolina Junior Beta Club Convention at the Myrtle Beach Convention Center in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, on January the 21st through the 23rd, 2026, as presented by the administration. Any discussion? Hearing none, the question is the approval of the motion to approve the BLMS Junior Beta Club students to attend the South Carolina Junior Beta Club Convention at the Myrtle Beach Convention Center in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, on January the 21st through the 23rd, 2026, as presented by the administration. Those in favor of the motion, please raise your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much, Ms. Lindsay, and we hope that you have a great trip.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, item 5.2, selection of voting delegate and alternate for the SCSBA annual business meeting held on December the 6th through the 7th, 2025, during the SCSBA Legislative Advocacy Conference in Charleston, South Carolina. Who plans to attend the SCSBA Legislative Advocacy Conference?
I plan to attend.
Okay.
All right.
Good.
Madam Chair, after looking at the attendees that we have, I'd like to make a motion that you as chair are our voting delegate and that Ms. Carey is our secretary, will be the alternate.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion from Mrs. Burgess and a second from Mrs. Derrick to select Francis Spotnight as the voting delegate and Sonia Carey as the alternate for the SCSBA annual business meeting held on December the 6th through the 7th, 2025, during the SCSBA Legislative Advocacy Conference in Charleston, South Carolina. Any discussion? Hearing none, the question is the approval of the selection of Francis Spotnight as the voting delegate and Sonia Carey as the alternate for the SCSBA annual business meeting held on December 6th through 7th, 2025, during the SCSBA Legislative Advocacy Conference in Charleston, South Carolina. Those in favor of the motion, please raise your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. We will group item 3.5, first reading approval of policy BE, board meetings, and item 5.4, first reading approval of policy BEA, live streaming of board meetings, presented by Dr. Bryant.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And if I may, if we have discussion or question items, I may call on my friend, Ms. Taylor, to assist with those. This is very much in her avenue. So, of course, you all know that we had a very active legislative session last year, closing out the year in June. And so over the next couple of months, I'm going to be presenting several new policies, or at least revisions to policies that are a direct result of that legislative session. And that is the case with policy BE. There's an adjustment to it based on legislative work. And then BEA is a brand new policy. Both in BE, there's simply a change recommended by the School Boards Association that we make this small change to align just in a mention of live streaming board meetings. So to the existing policy to get it in line with current legislative work. It also added a piece about cancellation of meetings that really is not specifically just about live streaming, but was an update to that policy as well, recommended by the School Boards Association, so I've included that as well. And then BEA is a completely new policy that outlines that we will live stream, which we've been doing. Our district has chosen to do that for some time now, but we have until January to put it all in place, but we, of course, didn't want to wait that long. So I'm asking for first reading approval of both of those policies, again, just to align with work from the legislature for the 25 session.
Any questions? Do I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to give first reading approval of policies BE and BEA
Okay.
as presented by Dr. Bryant.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Burgess. I have a motion from Dr. Gunner and a second from Mrs. Burgess for first reading approval to policies BE, board meetings, and BEA, live streaming board meetings, as presented by Dr. Bryant. Any discussion? Hearing none, the question is to give first reading approval to policies BE, board meetings, and BEA, live streaming of board meetings, as presented by Dr. Bryant. Those in favor of the motion, please raise your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. Okay. All right, and then next, we have item 5.5, first reading approval of policy JRA, student records, presented by Dr. Bryant.
Thank you. As we have to deal with our new policies that are determined by the state or by the legislature, we also still need to be chipping away at those policies that just simply need updates. One of my goals when I came into this position is to get some of those that are a little bit too old, just to put fresh eyes on them, give you a chance to offer your insight on those and update those accordingly. So this is one that we've chosen for this month as first reading, JRA student records. And it's just a proposed change that would help provide our school staffs have been asking for some clarity and consistency in the use of legal names for acknowledgments, just so that we're all doing the same things, that we're asking that so many of our records that we have with the state and different things, when students apply for things, various things have to have the birth certificate name. And we're asking just for a policy clarification that would institute that on all acknowledgments and anything dealing with the student, so that we're just all doing the same thing.
Do I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we offer first reading approval of policy JRA student records as recommended by the administration.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion from Mrs. Carey and a second from Mr. Kaufman for first reading approval to policy JRA, student records, as presented by the administration. Any discussion? Hearing none, the question is to give the first reading approval of policy JRA, student records, as presented by the administration. Those in favor of the motion, please raise your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Dr. Bryant. Next on the agenda is 6.0, executive session. Do I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we move into executive session for discussion of personnel, legal, and contractual matters.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion from Mrs. Derrick and a second from Mrs. Burgess to go into executive session for discussion of personnel, legal, and contractual matters. All those in favor of the motion to go into executive session for the discussion of personnel, legal, and contractual matters, please raise your right hand. The motion carries unanimously. We are now in executive session.